a personality shaped by being an athlete and a background in mainstream sports media, I found that the stories I was most interested in telling were the ones often overlooked, the ones that might not otherwise be told, the ones that show the intangible and not just the highlight reel. The Sports Council is about highlighting the great, the good, the unique, and everything in between in the Pacific Northwest sports world. I'm Jamie Council. Thanks for joining me.
You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, the Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Welcome to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. I'm Jamie Council, and we're joined by Chris Fisk, head coach of Central Washington football. So we're talking Wildcat football this week. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. It's always great when I get to talk about Central Washington football and a very successful program. You guys have made it to Division II playoffs the past 2 seasons. How do you feel about that? I feel like Central Washington football has a lot of respect, not just in the Lone Star Conference, but in the nation.
Yeah, I'm going to go right into coach speak. As soon as you start thinking about all that stuff, you're going to be out of the playoffs pretty soon. So it's just, we have a system here. We have a program, and it's an every year program. And so we're just taking the steps that we got to take this year to hopefully continue previous successes and put ourselves in the best position to win the Lone Star Conference and hopefully get into the playoff.
It's just my job to ask these questions, and I always appreciate that. And how's it going being in the Lone Star Conference? Of course, Central Washington is in the GNAC, but football doesn't have enough football programs. So hopping into the Lone Star, you probably see a lot more talent, but also a lot more travel, something that we've talked about in seasons past.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not that much different than being in the Big Ten right now. I would imagine, you're traveling across the country, and it's just something that teams that long before I got here have dealt with, right? They've been in the North Central Conference. They've been in for the GNAC. And so, the beauty of being in the Lone Star Conference is the game got raised for us. I always equate it to us going from a group of 5 to a Power 4 type of conference. And every week is just a grind. And you love that as the competitor in you, that you're not playing teams twice. You don't have a couple roll your helmets out game. You got to show up every week. And I think that's a blessing as a coach. Sometimes it's hard, and you got some really, really difficult games on that schedule. But as a competitor, you want to play those games week in and week out. And, we did it a week ago going over to Montana, or 2 weeks ago now. And so we've got on the schedule next year, we're going to play Cal Poly early, and we're going to play Ferris State, number 1 in the country, early. And so we don't shy away from those games, and being in the Lone Star Conference prepares you to play on those big stages.
Exactly, a Division II program, but you guys truly operate like a Division I program. And with Steve Hertling Field at Tomlinson Stadium, you really have the facilities to go along with it.
Yeah, along with just the renovation to Nicholson Pavilion with new weight room, new meeting rooms, kind of have everything that we need and in line to really be hopefully a top 5% team in Division II.
Into the 2025 season, you guys are 1-1. You mentioned you went to Montana, losing to the Grizzlies, won your season opener in the Rodeo Bowl. How are you feeling as a new season is underway, but still very early?
Yeah, we still have a lot to learn about ourselves. It was one of those games in the Rodeo Bowl against Mesa. Mesa had that tough travel, and we really fired on all cylinders. Very proud of a really young football team that came out and put its mark out early of being a really tough contender in the Lone Star, I think. And then you really go into Montana going, okay, well, there's going to be a team that can really show us where we're weak and where we got to get better. And that happened. And we got to grow from that and learn from it. And, we played really, really hard, and we did a lot of really good things against Montana. But ultimately, at the end of the day, when the game was in our hands, to be able to go, into the back end of the third quarter and take the lead, we didn't do it. And we had the opportunity to do it. So, you kind of go into that thing and go, we still got a lot to learn, and we've got a lot of room to grow as a football team. And, it was really good to have a bye week after Montana to heal up, because that's a really physical football team. Turned out Montana's pretty good as they went and beat University of North Dakota last weekend. But, you learned a lot in that game, and we've got to be able to take that after a 2-week window here and apply it to this game against West Texas and continue to grow as a football program.
Of course, so the game against Montana, 42-17 was the final score. And taking a look, teams are always going to look different every year, but you see special players, Tanner Volk, Tyler Flanagan, two names that, we're just a big part of the Wildcat program. So you're finding, the new guys. That's kind of how it goes. So what did you learn? What things are you trying to focus on now heading into game 3 of the season?
Yeah, I've been really proud of the offensive line and the development. We replaced 4 of our 5 starters in that O-line group, and really those guys haven't missed a beat. They've played very well in week 1 and week 2. I think we had more yards rushing than North Dakota did against Montana. And so those guys have done a great job. We've got a really, really explosive backfield offensively. Our tailbacks here pretty darn good. Bo Phillips played really well against Montana and had some really good runs, and Ryder Bumgartner, and then our starter Justice Taylor, who came out and led the thing out. So we're really talented in the backfield. We know our quarterback's very good, and he's done a great job getting the ball down the field for us and really not allowing teams to just tee off on that run game, and has been able to stretch the ball vertically. So that's been a nice surprise for us. And then, defensively, we replaced all of the defensive line along with the O-line. So, to see our team come out and really compete at the line of scrimmage, both against Mesa and then again against Montana, felt like our D-line was able to go toe-to-toe with them. We just didn't tackle well in space against Montana, which was something we'd done against Mesa. And so, in that back end where we replaced mostly that entire secondary, and replacing Tanner Volk was one of those things. We've got a lot of room to grow in that back end of our secondary. Also really thought, Brett McCullough, our starting Mike linebackers, played really well through both games. And so, we feel really good about the individuals, but more importantly, we feel good about our ability to compete at the line of scrimmage and be able to control the line of scrimmage to be able to put ourselves in some good positions against good teams.
Talking about Tanner Volk, the 44, remind people what is so special about the 44. That's something that Chase Colson is wearing.
Yeah, we've really implemented 2 numbers now, and so the 44 and the 54. The 44, being handed down from Tanner to Chase. Chase fits every ounce of what Tanner brought to our football team. He's a leader by example. He's a vocal leader, and he knows what he's doing out there, and he has a really good knack to get his teammates to play really hard. Really a captain for the team, but a captain for the defense. And then we added the 54 in honor of John Pica, who retired from our program, spent over 30 years in the program, played center. So we put that on really kind of the captain of the O-line group and the offense. And Slade Edwards is wearing that number, our All-American center. And so can't say enough of great things about those guys and the captains that lead our program. Those guys just do a great job day in and day out.
Yeah, so the captains, Colson, Edwards, and Brett McCullough, you mentioned him, and then Kennedy McGill and Bennett Neild. We are going to talk more about the players in segment 2 when we come back. Again, we're catching up with head coach Chris Fisk of Central Washington Football. You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Fall is in the air, and so is the sweet smell of your favorite Fair Time flavors. Krispy Kreme's Fall Fair collection is here from September 15th through October 5th, and it's everything you love about the fair without the lines. And with school back in session, it's the perfect time to schedule a fundraiser for your school, church, or group. Call us today and let Krispy Kreme help you raise some dough. It's all happening at Krispy Kreme, 2805 Duportail in Richland. Come in with a sweet tooth, leave with a smile.
Living in a rental shouldn't mean settling for poor-tasting tap water. With Soft Water Specialists, you can have pure, clean drinking water in your home easily and affordably. Our countertop filtration system removes impurities, improves taste, and fits perfectly in any rental space. Plus, it can produce hot or cold water. No big installations, no hassle, just fresh, crisp water. Stay healthy, stay hydrated, and love your water again. Soft Water Specialists. See why we have a 5-star rating on more than 600 Google reviews. Visit softwaterspecialist.com and love your water where you live.
This is the moment many car buyers wait all year for. The model year-end sales event is on at McCurley Chevrolet. As new Chevy models roll in, remaining 2025s need to move fast. It's the perfect time to trade in, save big, and grab a deal you won't see again till next year. These are the offers people plan around. Get here before they're gone. Experience the model year-end sales event at McCurley Chevrolet. Your way home.
If you've got a winery, brewery, or dairy, why buy industrial parts and supplies from across the country? Central Industrial Sales is your local source for supplies and equipment for the dairy, food processing, winery, and brewing industries. We specialize in custom fabrication, industrial cleaning equipment, sanitary fittings, valves, pumps, chemicals, and many other supplies. Everything's available through our website, by phone, or by dropping by our office. Call 509-375-4032 or find us at centralindustrialsales.com.
You're listening to Jamie Council on the Sports Council.
We're back on the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports, catching up with Chris Fisk of Central Washington Football. We were starting to talk about some of the players, but trying to save that for segment 2, as you have a lot of guys to talk about. And we talked about the captains at the end of segment 1, and Kennedy McGill, we'll hear from him later in the show, but he put up big numbers in week 1, a Offensive Player of the Week in the conference. What can you say about Kennedy McGill? He gives you guys a lot of options on offense.
Well, he's definitely made his name as a runner and his ability. He was number 1 in the NCAA last year in Division II in terms of yards per carry. And so we know that about him. And what we challenged him on in the offseason just was his ability to command the passing game. And it was really good against Mesa to see him come out and do that, to be able to get the ball not only downfield, but hit some intermediate passes and do some really good stuff in our passing game, and which has really kind of been a little bit of our Achilles heel in the past. So we've got some individual players that have played really well with our starting receivers. We've got Logan Brady out there at slot receiver, who's a returning starter for us, who's doing a really, really good job for us. Jalen Grable, who's an outside receiver for us, who had a big game against Mesa, was the receiver of a couple of those long touchdowns. And then Mason Juergens, who's a transfer from Wazoo, came in this first year as a graduate transfer and is doing a good job at outside receiver for us as well. So feel like we have a couple targets to go down to get the ball to down the field to complement that run game. But we've just got really good kids in the program that do a great job day in and day out, that also do a great job in the classroom with our team GPA. And the mission here to get their degrees is number 1, and football is the next thing for those guys. So we're proud of those guys.
Absolutely. We mentioned some of the players you lost, and Tyler Flanagan was one of those, and Kennedy McGill, a very mobile quarterback that you mentioned. But who are the others in the backfield?
Yeah, so Justice Taylor took over in Tyler's starting role and has done a great job. We really haven't missed a beat. He runs a lot like Tyler Flanagan did. He's a powerful runner. He runs downhill. And then behind him, we've got Bo Phillips and Baumgartner. And so those guys step in when JT gets a little bit going, but it's really a 3-headed monster. I always tell those guys it really doesn't matter who we start. All 3 of those guys are going to play, and the tally on what we do in the run game between the 3 of them matters more importantly than one individual garnering a bunch of yards. Because when in today's day and age of football, with how physical the game is, we really need all 3 of those guys to go the distance to keep what we're doing in offensively intact.
Absolutely, and you're not getting anywhere without the offensive line. And you mentioned a lot of changes on the line.
Yeah, coming in, Tyler Luzon, our starting left tackle, came in halfway through the season, got a handful of starts under his belt, does a great job for us. Noah Kokemaga at left guard. Slade Edwards, our center returning starter, the lone returning starter from that group, but an All-American and an unbelievable leader for that group. Jackson McCallum at right guard and Caleb Potts. Jackson being a Tri-Cities kid, and then Caleb Potts coming in at right tackle. And really, those guys have done a good job. And I think when you look at the depth chart and what's kind of happened for our program, which I think is the good measure of a good football program, is all of those guys were 2s a year ago. we didn't have to go fishing in the portal. We didn't have to go trying to find, free agents to try to come in and build our football program. We truly have a football program of Washington kids from all over the state of Washington, including the Tri-Cities, that come in here, and we just replace those guys year after year with those Washington kids, and they do a great job for us, and it's a lot of fun to coach those kids from in-state.
Yeah, you read my mind of giving the Tri-Cities guys a shout out. So Jackson McCollum coming to Central from Idaho and South Dakota Mines, and that's not the only McCollum that you have as well. 2 for 1 as Gavin McCollum out of Kamayakan also on the roster.
Yeah, and Gavin's just a redshirt freshman, and he's had to come in multiple times and come in and play, and has done a really nice job for him. He's got an unbelievable bright future as a redshirt freshman, and couldn't be more excited about those guys up front.
So now let's move to the defense. You have some good returners back.
We really kind of got one starter back off that D-line from a year ago with Chase Lloyd-Hammer, kid from Wenatchee, Washington, does a great job for us. A guy that could have been a starter for us last year. He was just as good as anybody we had over there, Tyler King, anchoring the other defensive end position. Lino Matasino has come in, and Lino does a great job. He was a starter as a freshman for us and then got beat out in his second year, but is back as a starter for us, does a great job. And really kind of the guy that's made the biggest splash is Mikhail Edwards out of Federal Way, and he's done an unbelievable job. He's really made his mark against Montana, was really trouble for them in the middle last week. And so that group has just done a great job, and we've got some guys that come in as backups that do a great job for us too, so we can kind of two-platoon that D-line for teams that go tempo against us.
Talking about defensive backs, it's again, this show is based in the Tri-Cities. It's fun that you have kind of a Chiawana reunion.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Yeah, we definitely have. If you're fishing out in the Tri-Cities, we've been catching some pretty good ones out that way, and so we have a lot of good Chiawana ones. We have a really good young guy that he's redshirting this year for us in Braxton Feldman out of Chiawana right now, and some other good young faces out of that place. But the Tri-Cities has been good to us.
Yeah, and then Jalen Weber, it's so fun for me to watch because you have players that are two-way players and finding where their homes are, and of course it takes a couple years to get caught up in the college game, but worth the wait nonetheless.
Yeah, and Jalen had a big pick against Montana that, we go down there at 17-21 and we end up throwing an interception in the end zone. But, if we capitalize on that interception, we're right in that game at the end of the third quarter with Montana. So another guy that's, kind of been in that depth, and we graduated a lot of really talented seniors last year. And now it's been his turn, and he's been a really good backup for a long time, and now as a starter just doing a great job for us.
Absolutely. And defensive backs, anybody else that you want to highlight before I make it a Tri-Cities show? Yeah,
no, it's great. We have a young man that transferred to us from Washington State as well, King Williams, who's playing corner for us, who's done a tremendous job. We had one of our older corners get hurt early in fall camp, who will be back in the next couple of weeks. But King has really done a fantastic job back there. We have a new starter at free safety. His name's Javante Walker out of Timberland High School, and he's been great for us as well, just getting his feet wet and learning a lot week to week, and just doing a fantastic job for us out there, along with Jalen Owens out of the Portland area at the other corner position, who does a wonderful job for us. But those guys are getting better each week. They're learning a ton each week, and if we can continue to have that steady growth, I feel like we'll be back right where we need to be defensively, where we've been in the past.
Finally, the last, besides special teams, but linebackers.
Yeah, the linebacking core has been a strength for us for a long time. Even the day that I walked in here with Kevin Haynes and that group of players, and all the way through this group, Brett McCullough is kind of the heartbeat of that linebacker room. And then Bryson Endell, who we lost early. We'll find out more if we can get him back later. But Kuma Scanlon's done a great job for us. And then we have a a UW transfer, Logan Lischernis, that's come in and played really, really well for us. And so it's been nice because we've had a lot of depth in that linebacker room that as we've had injuries, those guys have done a really good job. But again, those guys continue to grow each week, just like the secondary does. And, if we've got guys like B-Mac back there leading that group, I'm very confident of what we can do in the Lone Star.
Yeah, that was my question, where you take a look at these transfers, from Washington State, from Washington, and even some other Division I programs. That kind of takes a lot to be able to get those guys on your roster to really find a home in the college game.
Well, it does, but those are guys, all of those guys that transferred back to us were all guys that we had great relationships with in the recruiting process and got some offers late in the game to go walk on at UW or Washington State, Eastern Washington, some of these schools, and so Idaho. And so just making sure that we leave those relationships intact, so that if it doesn't work out at those places, we're the first place they call. And to a man, every single one of them has come into our program and really found their passion for football again after maybe losing it a little bit, at that level and going to be on scout teams and that type of stuff, and being able to come in here and leave their mark. It's been wonderful to see. And those guys are a ton of fun to coach.
So we're getting a little bit low on time, so I want to talk about this Saturday, 6 o'clock, West Texas A&M coming to town. What are going to be the keys to the game? Yeah,
so it's a revamped program. Josh Lynn is in his third year leading that program, and they have two new coordinators offensively and defensively who do a tremendous job. Their offensive coordinator coming over from Central Missouri, who had the Harlan Hill winner for the last 2 years at quarterback at Central Missouri, Harlan Hill being kind of the Heisman of Division II. And he runs a high-tempo, wide-open spread offense that is running at breakneck speeds that we got to prepare for. So you'll have that going on. And then they've got a really kind of bend, don't break defense that does a great job of being stout in the red zone and forcing field goals, not letting you in the end zone. And so, we're going to have to do a great job in this game of keeping that dynamic quarterback off the field. Their quarterback was the freshman of the year in the Big Sky at NAU before he transferred over to Baylor, Texas State, and then found his way to West Texas. And he's a really good athlete. He gets rid of the ball quickly. They've got some dynamic receivers, got a great offensive line. And so we're going to need to keep those guys off the field, which is kind of the name of how we play the game anyway, and really possess the football and just try to keep this thing in tight and keep our score within manageable so that we can put ourselves in position in the fourth quarter to win this football game.
Yeah, that's something that, teams are different every year, and people can see, 45-3, Central should be, but it's a completely different West Texas team than last year.
Yeah, I think anytime that you get into measuring teams off of last year's performances, teams grow, teams work really hard in the offseason. I think, West Texas is one of the best funded teams in the Lone Star Conference with the most scholarships, tons of facilities, the ability to recruit really good football coaches on top of it. And I know Coach Lynn and those guys have worked their tails off to really kind of repair West Texas football. And if you know anything about West Texas football, they take a lot of pride in playing football. So we're going to expect the best from those guys coming in here this weekend. Nobody in our doors. Again, you really just kind of try to not focus on anything from outside of what we control on a play-to-play basis here and go do our jobs, and we'll be happy with the outcome.
So kickoff is at 6 o'clock at the Steve Hertling Field at Tomlinson Stadium in Ellensburg. And why should people come out and watch some Wildcat football?
Well, I think we got a team that the folks in the state of Washington and especially the surrounding areas, Central Washington, get down into the Tri-Cities, a team that people can take a lot of pride in, a team that I think represents the state of Washington well, both on the football field, in the classroom, and in the community. And so, these guys work their tails off just like every player at UW or Wazoo does or Eastern Washington. They work just as hard, and they deserve an audience, and they play the game the right way. And so, I hope everybody gets out here to see this game, and everybody here in the central Kittitas Valley gets out here to watch these boys play because they work their butts off.
Best of luck this weekend.
All right, go Cats.
Again, that is head coach Chris Fisk of Central Washington football. When we come back, we'll hear from quarterback Kennedy McGill. You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports.
If you've got a winery, brewery, or dairy, why buy industrial parts and supplies from across the country? Central Industrial Sales is your local source for supplies and equipment for the dairy, food processing, winery, and brewing industries. We specialize in custom fabrication, industrial cleaning equipment, sanitary fittings, valves, pumps, chemicals, and many other supplies. Everything's available through our website, by phone, or by dropping by our office. Call 509-375-4032 or find us at centralindustrialsales.com.
Fall is in the air, and so is the sweet smell of your favorite fair time flavors. Krispy Kreme's Fall Fair collection is here from September 15th through October 5th, and it's everything you love about the fair without the lines. And with school back in session, it's the perfect time to schedule a fundraiser for your school, church, or group. Call us today and let Krispy Kreme help you raise some dough. It's all happening at Krispy Kreme, 2805 Duportail in Richland. Coming with a sweet tooth, leave with a smile.
This is the moment many car buyers wait all year for. The model year-end sales event is on at McCurley Chevrolet. As new Chevy models roll in, remaining 2025s need to move fast. It's the perfect time to trade in, save big, and grab a deal you won't see again till next year. These are the offers people plan around. Get here before they're gone. Experience the model year-end sales event at McCurley Chevrolet. Your way home.
Hi there, it's me, the water boy. Are you tired of water that doesn't taste or smell right? Woo! At Soft Water Specialists, we can remove contaminants and odors, leaving you with better tasting water. Your appliances will last longer, your clothes will be softer and brighter, and your skin and hair will feel incredibly clean. And right now, get 0 down and 12 months same as cash on all our water systems. To transform your water from H2O no to H2O yeah, call Soft Water Specialists today.
Listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, the Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Welcome back to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. Well, we just heard from Coach Fisk of Central Washington Football, and now we're joined by quarterback Kennedy McGill. Welcome. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Well, it's been so fun watching your progression as a Wildcat coming to Ellensburg from North Creek, and you made some big decisions coming into your college career of what you wanted out of yourself as a football player. So before we get into this season, tell me a little bit about your journey as a college football player.
I redshirted my first season, got to learn a lot behind the QBs in front of me, and then I started off my redshirt freshman year playing a little bit. We had a little package for me, so I was able to get in for a few plays every now and then, run the ball, and take some college hits. Those felt great. And as the season progressed, I was very fortunate to get the opportunity to start a game for us, which I started right here at home for our homecoming game, and never looked back. It was an incredible opportunity and experience, and I'm very grateful for where I am now.
Absolutely. And opening up the season, you started off with a bang, over 500 yards. So this year, how does it feel just to be able to step into the role and put up some big numbers right out of the gate?
It feels great, but it all boils down to I'm only able to make a lot of those plays because of the players around me, the scheme around me. And so I thought our coaches did an excellent job game planning, and our players have done a phenomenal job doing their 111 and then making plays when they have the opportunity. So the stats don't always tell the whole story, but they very fortunate for the team around me, and our job at the end of the day is to go out there and do whatever we can to win.
Absolutely. And for those that don't know, I'm talking about the Lone Star Conference Offensive Player of the Week that you won in September after the 41-14 win in the Rodeo Bowl. And like I said, 516 total yards. What has been the biggest progression for you as a player from last year to this year, would you say?
For me personally, the biggest thing would be, just seeing the game in a different way. In terms of seeing schemes, seeing how their alignment affects the play we're about to run, and developing as a passer, kind of all of it, just bringing everything about the game that I never knew before and just continuing to get better day after day.
What have you enjoyed the most about being a Wildcat?
The brotherhood, for sure. Everyone gets along with each other. We all enjoy being around one another, which is really cool. And so I have a lot of close friends here. I get along with everybody on the team. And so it's really fun doing stuff together on the field and then outside of that as well.
So tell me, what can people expect from the Wildcat offense here in the 2025 season?
You can expect us to continue to work, to progress more and more. We want to our job at the end of the day is to do what the team needs to win. And so what you're going to see is relentless effort. That's something we pride ourselves on every play. Give it your best, because you never know what can happen.
You talk about that brotherhood and, it's the game of football in general, but with your team, you have so many people from the Pacific Northwest. So talk about how cool that is, just because it's a lot of programs or sometimes even players that you saw in the high school game, and now you guys are sharing the field at Tomlinson Stadium.
It's pretty cool because, you'll go into high school and you'll be like, oh, great, we have to play these guys, or I can't wait to beat these guys. And then all of a sudden you're on the same team as them. And, you respect each other because you both made it to this great program. And now you're working together on the same team. And it's just really cool. It's a really cool way to bond. It's very fun being on the field with those guys.
Absolutely. And goals for this season for the Wildcats?
The goals will be to have no regrets in your preparation, in your effort on the field. Do everything you can, and the result will take care of itself.
Why should people come out and watch Central Washington football this Saturday with a 6 o'clock kickoff?
Because what more could you want? Evening night, college football, straight fireworks, honestly. And a lot of energy and enthusiasm from the sidelines and the crowd. It's going to make for an incredible night.
So people should be at the Steve Hertling Field at Tomlinson Stadium, 6 o'clock on Saturday night.
Yes, they should.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Again, Kennedy McGill, quarterback for Central Washington football. You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. Well, that wraps up this week's show of the Sports Council. Thank you for joining me on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. A reminder, the Sports Council happens 4 times a month, 11:30 a.m. on Thursdays. But you can listen to this show not just over the airwaves at 11:30 on Thursdays, but also on demand at 1340ESPNradio.com via podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search for the Sports Council. And it's also available via YouTube. So lots of ways to listen to the Sports Council and support our local sports community. I'm Jamie Council. Now we go back to your originally scheduled Seattle sports programming.